A truck that sold for $50,000 is sitting on a used car lot right now for $9,500. Same frame, same engine, same power under the hood, but the price tag dropped by over 80%. That's not a coincidence, and it's not bad luck for the original owner. It's depreciation, and once you understand how it actually works, you'll never look at a used truck listing the same way again. Dealerships don't want you to understand this math, because their entire new truck business model depends on you believing depreciation is random. It isn't. Today we're breaking down exactly why full-size trucks lose their value so fast and turning that math into your advantage. We're counting down 12 trucks you can buy for under $10,000, starting with solid, dependable options and building all the way up to a diesel engine so tough it's still running strong past 400,000 miles. Number one on this list might be the most bulletproof used vehicle in America. Let's start the countdown. Number 1, 2007 to 2013 GMC Sierra 1500, 4.8 liters or 6.0 liters V8. The GMC Sierra was always the quiet luxury option next to the Chevy Silverado, and that's exactly why it depreciates so hard. Buyers walked into dealerships expecting Denali badges and heated leather to hold their value the way German luxury cars do. Reality hit different. GM built hundreds of thousands of these trucks every single year, and that kind of volume crushes resale numbers no matter how nice the interior feels. A loaded SLE or Denali that's stickered near $50,000 now shows up on used lots for a fraction of that, once mileage climbs past the 150,000 mark. Here's the part most buyers miss. This generation came with an engine choice that quietly determines how much truck you're actually getting. The 5.3-liter Vortec, GM's most common option, used something called active fuel management to shut off cylinders and save gas. On paper, smart engineering. In the real world, AFM has been linked to oil consumption problems and lifter failures that show up right around the time these trucks hit their high mileage depreciation cliff. But if you specifically shop for the 4.8-liter V8 or the heavy-duty 6.0-liter V8, you skip that entire headache. Neither one uses AFM, which means simpler internals and a much lower chance of the exact failure pattern that scares away second and third owners. That's the disconnect right there. The market prices all Sierras the same way, but the engine under the hood tells two completely different reliability stories. Do the homework on the engine code before you buy, and you're getting a genuinely dependable truck for pocket change. Skip that homework, and you might be buying someone else's oil-burning problem. Think about what that actually means in dollars. A lifter replacement job on an AFM-equipped 5.3-liter can easily run into the thousands once labor is factored in, and that's before you count the tow bill or the rental car you needed while your truck sat in a shop bay. Compare that to a 4.8-liter owner spending that same week just changing oil and rotating tires, and you start to understand why the engine code on the door jamb matters more than the trim badge on the tailgate. This is the kind of detail dealerships never volunteer because a Denali sells itself on leather and chrome, not on a fuel management acronym buried in the owner's manual. And this next truck takes that same idea of simple is better and pushes it even further. Number 2, 1999 to 2006 Chevrolet Silverado 1500, 5.3-liter Vortec Phi 8. Here's where it gets interesting because this is the era right before GM added all that active fuel management complexity to the Silverado. The GMT800 generation, built from 1999 through 2006, is mechanically about as simple as a modern truck gets. No cylinder deactivation gimmicks, no overly complicated emissions hardware bolted onto the engine bay, just a straightforward 5.3-liter Vortec V8 doing exactly what it was designed to do. When these trucks were new, a fully loaded LT crew cab was the family hauler of choice for suburban America. Leather seats, a real towing package, the whole package for a price that easily crossed $40,000. Today, that same truck with high mileage can be found for well under 10 grand, and here's the thing, the mileage barely matters the way it would on a more complicated vehicle. Mechanics who work on these trucks day in and day out will tell you the same thing. The GMT800 platform is one of the most repair-friendly trucks ever built. Parts are everywhere, they're cheap, and the labor required to fix anything on this engine is minimal compared to modern trucks stuffed with sensors and computers. There's a reason contractors, ranchers, and fleet operators kept these trucks running long after flashier competitors got scrapped. It's not glamorous, it's not going to turn heads at a stoplight, but if raw dependability is what you're shopping for, this generation of Silverado quietly does more with less than almost anything else on a $10,000 budget. Picture two neighbors buying trucks the same week. One drives home in a flashy newer model loaded with tech, the other in a plain GMT800 with 180,000 miles on the clock. 5 years later, the flashy truck is back at the dealership fighting an electrical gremlin nobody can diagnose, while the boring Silverado is still parked in the driveway with nothing more than an oil change sticker in the windshield. That's the quiet advantage of buying simple. You're not paying for sensors and software you'll never notice. You're paying for an engine that mechanics have understood inside and out for over 2 decades. Now let's talk about the truck that might have the single most beloved engine on this entire list. Number 3, 2007 to 2013 Ford F-150 5.0-liter Coyote V8, Ford's best-selling truck in America, and once again, that popularity is exactly what tanks the resale value. When Ford introduced the 5.0-liter Coyote V8 into the F-150 lineup, they gave buyers something genuinely special, a high-revving, free-breathing engine that felt more like a performance motor than a work truck power plant. Fully loaded Lariat and King Ranch trims pushed sticker prices past $50,000 with quilted leather seats and tech packages that felt genuinely premium at the time. But America builds F-150s by the millions, and that flood of supply on the used market means depreciation hits harder here than almost any other truck on this list. The upside for you as a buyer is enormous. The 5.0-liter Coyote has become something close to legendary in the truck community, not because of hype, but because of how it holds up. It's a genuinely durable engine, and because it's shared with the Ford Mustang platform, it has one of the largest aftermarket support networks of any engine on the road. That means parts availability isn't a concern. Specialty mechanics who understand this engine inside and out are everywhere, and finding someone who can diagnose a problem correctly the first time is far easier than with more obscure powertrains. Add in the sheer number of these trucks that were built, and finding a well-documented example with service records becomes much easier than hunting for something rarer. A $10,000 Coyote-powered F-150 with a clean maintenance history isn't a gamble. It's one of the smartest plays on this entire list. There's also a practical side effect of Ford selling so many of these trucks that most buyers never think about. Competition among independent shops keeps repair pricing honest, because virtually every mechanic in the country has worked on a Coyote-powered F-150. You're never stuck paying dealership-only rates for basic maintenance the way you might with a rarer imported truck. Parts show up overnight instead of on back order, and diagnostic guesswork is almost non-existent because so much has already been documented about this exact engine. But the next truck on our countdown comes with one very specific warning you need to hear before you buy. Number 4, 2003 to 2008 Dodge Ram 1500 5.7-liter Hemi 5.8. The Hemi name alone used to sell trucks. Dodge leaned hard into that muscle car heritage, and fully loaded Laramie trims from this era came stacked with premium leather, upgraded Infinity sound systems, and enough chrome trim to make the truck feel like a genuine luxury vehicle. Original sticker prices reflected that positioning, easily crossing $45,000 to $50,000 for a top-spec model. Depreciation has been brutal on these trucks, and today you can find a well-optioned 5.7-liter Hemi Ram for a small fraction of what the first owner paid. But there's a specific issue you need to understand before you buy one, and it's become infamous enough in truck circles to earn its own nickname, the Hemi tick. It's a ticking noise that develops in these engines, typically tied to exhaust manifold bolts that loosen over time, or in more serious cases, valve seat wear that develops from factory metallurgy issues in certain production years. Here's the good news. Once you know what to listen for, and once a truck has either had the exhaust manifolds addressed or simply proven itself past the danger window with documented maintenance, this Hemi becomes an entirely different animal. It's an engine that, properly maintained, comfortably clears 250,000 miles while still delivering strong towing power. The key is buying smart. Get a pre-purchase inspection, specifically checking for the tick, ask for maintenance records, and don't buy blind off a random driveway listing without hearing the engine run yourself first. Do that legwork and you're getting genuine V8 muscle truck performance for pennies on the dollar. Skip it and you might inherit somebody else's expensive engine problem. The frustrating part is how avoidable this whole situation is. A 15-minute cold start, listen, ideally before the engine has run that day, will reveal a developing tick almost every time. Bring a flashlight, pop the hood before you even sit in the driver's seat, and listen for that distinct rhythmic ticking near the exhaust manifolds. Sellers who know their truck is clean will have no problem letting you do this. Sellers who get nervous about a cold start test are telling you everything you need to know without saying a word. Now let's shift gears toward the trucks that start climbing into serious long-term reliability territory. Number 5. 2012 to 2015 Nissan Frontier 4.0-liter V6. This is where the countdown takes a turn, because instead of chasing an older full-size truck with high mileage, going mid-size opens up an entirely different value proposition. A $10,000 budget on a Nissan Frontier doesn't buy you a 15-year-old truck with 200,000 miles on the odometer. It buys you a significantly newer vehicle, often sitting well under 130,000 miles, because Frontiers simply depreciate faster relative to their age than the full-size V8 trucks people obsess over. High-end PRO 4X trims came loaded with off-road tech packages, upgraded suspension components, and interior features that made this feel like a genuine lifestyle vehicle rather than just a work truck. That premium positioning at launch means today's depreciation hits hard, and it works entirely in your favor. Under the hood, the 4.0-liter V6 in this generation of Frontier has built a reputation as one of Nissan's most dependable engines, with owners regularly reporting well past 200,000 miles of service with nothing more than routine maintenance. The math here is simple but powerful. Lower mileage generally means less accumulated wear on suspension components, less strain on the transmission, and fewer total miles logged on interior wear items that are expensive to replace. You're essentially buying more remaining lifespan for the same money compared to shopping full size, which matters far more over a 5 or 10 year ownership window than any spec sheet number ever will. If you don't need maximum towing capacity or a massive bed, and you genuinely just want a reliable truck with fewer miles already on the clock, this Frontier deserves serious consideration. There's a bigger lesson buried in this pick that applies to almost every truck shopper. Age and mileage aren't the same thing, and treating them as interchangeable is exactly how people overpay for tired full-size trucks while walking right past a fresher, better preserved mid-size option sitting one row over on the same lot. The Frontier forces you to think about total remaining life left in a vehicle, not just how big the badge on the tailgate looks. Coming up next, a truck that barely gets talked about in reliability conversations, and that's a mistake. Number 6. 2006 to 2014 Honda Ridgeline 3.5-liter V6. The Honda Ridgeline gets left out of most truck conversations because it doesn't look or drive like a traditional pickup, and that's precisely what makes it worth your attention. Instead of a body-on-frame design like every other truck on this list, the Ridgeline uses a unibody platform borrowed from Honda's SUV lineup. Fully loaded RTL trims targeted buyers who wanted genuine truck utility without sacrificing the comfort and quiet ride quality of a passenger vehicle. And that combination originally commanded a real premium at the dealership. Depreciation has been steep, partly because truck buyers who prioritize old school toughness passed it over, which now works heavily in your favor on the used market. Under the hood sits Honda's 3.5-liter V6, an engine with a well-earned reputation across the brand's entire lineup for going the distance with minimal drama. It benefits from millions of miles of real-world reliability data across nearly identical drivetrains driven by families who put those vehicles through years of daily school runs, road trips, and everyday abuse. That unibody construction does mean towing capacity falls short of a traditional frame-built truck, so if you're regularly hauling heavy trailers, this isn't your pick. But for everyday driving, light hauling, and a ride quality that genuinely feels more like a comfortable SUV than a stiff work truck, the Ridgeline offers something none of the traditional trucks on this list can match. You're trading maximum capability for daily comfort and a drivetrain with an outstanding long-term track record. Ask yourself honestly how often you actually tow a heavy trailer versus how often you're just commuting, running errands, or hauling something that fits easily in a mid-size bed. For most owners, the honest answer is that a traditional heavy-duty frame is overkill they're paying for and never using. If that trade makes sense for how you actually use a truck, this generation of Ridgeline is one of the most underrated picks in the entire $10,000 range. Quick pause before we keep climbing the list. If this breakdown is actually helping you shop smarter, hit that subscribe button now. We cover the trucks dealerships hope you never research this closely, and the engine codes most salespeople have never even heard of. Alright, back to the countdown because things are about to get seriously bulletproof. Number 7. 2008 to 2012 Nissan Titan, 5.6-liter endurance 5.8. The Nissan Titan is the truck most buyers overlook entirely, and honestly, that's a mistake that's been costing people money for over a decade. While shoppers fixate on Ford, Chevy, and Toyota, the Titan quietly built one of the most dependable V8 engines in this entire class. The 5.6-liter endurance, fully loaded LE and PRO 4X trims from this generation came with genuine off-road hardware and a luxury interior that rivaled trucks costing significantly more, yet Nissan's smaller market share in the full-size truck segment means resale values collapse faster than the more popular domestic competitors. That's a direct win for anyone shopping with a $10,000 budget today. It's worth being upfront about one issue from the earlier years of this platform. Some owners experience axle vent related problems that could lead to gear oil contamination if left unaddressed. Nissan identified and resolved this on later production runs, and any Titan you're considering today has almost certainly already had this addressed one way or another, given how many years have passed. Once that specific hiccup is out of the picture, what you're left with is an engine that regularly crosses the 300,000 mile mark with nothing more than standard maintenance. That's not a cherry-picked outlier claim. It's a pattern that shows up consistently across Titan owner communities and independent mechanic reports. Because so few buyers actively shop for a Titan compared to the big three domestic brands, you'll often find better maintained examples sitting on lots longer, with sellers more motivated to move them. If you're comfortable stepping outside the obvious brand names, the Titan might be the single best value play hiding in plain sight on this entire list. There's a psychological hurdle here more than a mechanical one. People trust what their neighbors drive, and neighborhoods are full of F-150s and Silverados, not Titans. But popularity and reliability have never been the same measurement, and the Titan is proof that stepping outside the crowd can mean stepping into a genuinely better deal. Next up, we're moving into diesel territory, and the reliability numbers get even more impressive. Number 8, 2001 to 2004 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD 6.6-liter Duramax LB diesel. This is where the countdown shifts into serious heavy-duty territory. The early Duramax-powered Silverado 2500 HD trucks were built for buyers who needed real towing capability, and fully loaded versions with leather interiors and long-haul comfort features commanded genuine premium pricing when new, easily crossing $50,000 for a well-equipped configuration. Diesel trucks from this era have depreciated hard for a very specific reason that actually benefits you as a buyer looking for reliability. The LB7 generation Duramax predates the modern emissions equipment that has made newer diesel trucks a maintenance nightmare. There's no diesel exhaust fluid system to manage, no diesel particulate filter clogging up and forcing expensive regeneration cycles, and none of the sensor-heavy emissions architecture that turns routine diesel ownership into a constant repair bill on more modern trucks. What you get instead is a comparatively simple, mechanically robust diesel engine that mechanics widely regard as one of the most dependable Duramax generations ever produced. Owners routinely report these engines pushing well past 300,000 miles with proper maintenance, and used diesel truck communities consistently point to this specific generation when recommending a used heavy-duty buy. There is one thing worth knowing before you shop. Injector issues can show up on high-mileage LB7 examples, so a pre-purchase inspection focused specifically on injector health is worth the cost. Handle that one due diligence step and you're looking at one of the most capable, most dependable diesel trucks you can put your hands on for anywhere close to $10,000. For anyone who's ever priced out a modern diesel repair bill, the appeal here goes beyond nostalgia. A clogged particulate filter or a failed emissions sensor on a newer truck can cost more to fix than this entire Silverado costs to buy outright. Owning something built before that complexity existed isn't just charming, it's a genuine financial strategy for anyone who plans to keep a truck for the long haul. And now we're entering Toyota territory, where the reliability reputation gets almost mythical. Number 9, 2007 to 2010 Toyota Tundra 5.7-liter V8. Toyota built the second-generation Tundra to go head-to-head with the American full-size trucks, and in typical Toyota fashion, they didn't just match the competition, they engineered something that's held up noticeably better over time. When new, a well-equipped Tundra with this 5.7-liter V8 commanded a genuine premium price tag, reflecting Toyota's reputation for build quality and long-term dependability. High mileage on used examples has pushed prices down into the range where you can find one for under $10,000, But don't mistake that low price for low quality. The 5.7-liter engine in this Tundra generation produces 381 horsepower, numbers that were genuinely impressive for a full-size truck at the time, and it's paired with a heavy-duty transmission that Toyota essentially over-engineered for the application. Owners and mechanics alike frequently describe this drivetrain as being built more like commercial-grade equipment than a typical consumer truck, and the real-world track record backs that description up. High-mileage examples in the 200,000 to 300,000 mile range routinely show up still running strong, with owners reporting minimal major repairs beyond standard maintenance items like brakes, tires, and fluid changes. That kind of consistency is exactly why Toyota trucks command a reliability reputation that borders on mythical in online truck communities, and it's a reputation earned through decades of documented ownership rather than a single marketing campaign. If you find a well-maintained example of this generation Tundra anywhere near the $10,000 range, you're not just buying a used truck, you're buying into a drivetrain with one of the strongest long-term track records of any vehicle on the road today. It's worth noting that the very thing keeping the price this low high mileage is often overstated as a risk factor by shoppers who haven't researched the specific engine. On most trucks, that skepticism is justified. On this one, it's actually the opposite of a red flag, because so much of this engine's real-world reputation was built specifically by high-mileage examples continuing to perform without drama. But the next entry takes that Toyota reliability story to an entirely different level. Number 10, 2004 to 2010 Toyota Tacoma 4.0-liter V6. If there's a gold standard for mid-sized truck reliability, this generation of Tacoma is it. When new, a top-tier TRD off-road trim commanded genuine premium pricing, and even adjusted for the passage of time and Toyota's famously slow depreciation curve, these trucks have held on to more of their value than almost anything else in this segment. That's exactly why finding one under $10,000 usually means accepting higher mileage. But with this specific engine, mileage matters far less than it does on almost any other vehicle. The 1GR-FE 4.0-liter V6 powering this generation of Tacoma has earned a reputation that borders on legendary. This is the same fundamental engine family that's shown up in viral stories about Toyota trucks crossing 500,000, even 1,000,000 miles on original internal components, with nothing more than routine maintenance and normal wear item replacement along the way. That's not marketing exaggeration. It's a documented pattern that repeats across owner communities, independent mechanics, and long-term ownership reports spanning nearly 2 decades now. What makes this Tacoma generation particularly attractive as a used buy is Toyota's broader reputation for engineering margin. These trucks weren't built to just barely meet their expected lifespan. They were over-engineered well beyond it, which is exactly why so many examples are still working daily on ranches, construction sites, and as daily drivers well past the 200,000 mile mark. If you're shopping this list purely for long-term dependability, and you don't mind a smaller bed and back seat compared to a full-size truck, this generation Tacoma might be the single smartest buy on the entire countdown. There's a reason resale listings for this specific generation rarely sit long on the market, even at higher price points than what we're discussing here. Buyers who understand trucks recognize this platform on site, and they move fast when one shows up clean. If you're serious about finding one near the bottom of this budget range, be ready to act quickly, because informed shoppers are competing for the exact same listings you are. Now let's climb even higher, because Toyota isn't done showing off yet. Number 11, 2004 to 2006 Toyota Tundra 4.7-liter I-Force V8. This is the truck that truly cemented Toyota's reliability reputation in the full-size segment, and the story behind this specific 4.7-liter engine is almost hard to believe until you see the documentation yourself. Limited trims of this first-generation Tundra came loaded with heated leather seats and premium interior touches that matched Toyota's top-tier build quality standards at the time, commanding a genuine luxury price tag when new. Today, thanks to age and accumulated mileage, you can find these trucks well within a $10,000 budget, and what you're getting in return is almost unfair value for the price. The 4.7-liter I-Force V8 in this specific Tundra generation has become globally famous in automotive circles for a reason most trucks never achieve. Verified examples of this exact engine reaching 1,000,000 miles on original internal components without a rebuild. That's not an urban legend passed around around online forums. It's a documented, widely reported phenomenon that put this specific powertrain on the map as one of the most durable production engines ever built for a consumer vehicle. Independent mechanics and long-term ownership communities consistently point to this engine as proof of just how much reliability Margin Toyota engineered into these early Tundra trucks, treating consumer vehicles with the same durability standards typically reserved for commercial fleet equipment. If you find a well-documented example of this generation Tundra anywhere near your budget, mileage numbers that would terrify you on almost any other vehicle become far less concerning here. This is about as close to bulletproof as a gas-powered truck gets. Think about what that 1 million mile figure actually represents. That's roughly 40 trips around the entire circumference of the Earth on a single set of original internal engine components. Most vehicles never see even a tenth of that distance before major components need replacing. When an engine clears that bar even once under documented verifiable conditions, it changes the entire conversation around what high mileage should mean to a buyer standing in front of a listing with 200,000 miles on it. But there's still one more entry on this list, and it might be the single most respected engine in truck history. Number 12. 1999 to 2003 Ford F250/F350 Super Duty 7.3-liter Power-Stroke diesel. And here it is, the truck that ends this countdown, and for good reason. Heavy-duty Lariat trims of this Super Duty generation were the original commercial-grade luxury haulers, stickering near $50,000 when fully loaded with leather interiors and long-haul comfort packages built for buyers who needed serious towing capability without sacrificing daily comfort. Depreciation has been steep over the past 2 decades, and that steep drop has turned into one of the single best opportunities on this entire list. The 7.3-liter Power-Stroke diesel engine powering this generation of Super Duty isn't just well regarded, it's widely considered across independent mechanics, diesel truck communities, and long-term ownership data to be the most reliable turbocharged diesel engine ever mass-produced for a consumer vehicle. This engine predates the emissions complexity that plagues modern diesels entirely. No diesel exhaust fluid, no particulate filter, no delicate sensor network waiting to throw a check engine light over a minor issue. It's mechanically simple, genuinely overbuilt, and engineered during an era when Ford prioritized raw durability over emissions compliance. The result is an engine that routinely crosses 400,000, even 500,000 miles with proper maintenance, powering everything from personal trucks to commercial fleet vehicles that run daily for decades. Find a well-maintained example of this specific Super Duty generation anywhere near $10,000. And you're not just getting a good deal, you're getting arguably the single most dependable diesel powertrain ever put into a production truck. Farmers still run these engines on working ranches. Tow companies still put them to work every single day. Long-haul contractors who need a truck that simply cannot afford to break down still specifically hunt down this exact generation when it comes time to replace an aging fleet vehicle. That's not sentimentality talking. That's people whose income depends on reliability voting with their wallets. Generation after generation, for the exact same engine sitting under the hood of a truck, you could buy this weekend for less than the price of a used sedan. That's how you end a countdown that started with an 80% depreciation number and finishes with a truck that might genuinely outlast the person who buys it. That's the real story behind depreciation. It's not about a truck being bad. It's about supply, popularity, and market perception dragging prices down while the mechanical bones underneath stay just as strong as the day they left the factory. Every truck on this list proves the same point. Knowing which engine to shop for turns someone else's 80% loss into your biggest win. The original owner who paid full sticker price absorbed the hit so you don't have to. And now, you know exactly which engine codes and production years to search for the next time you're browsing listings. Now I want to hear from you. Which truck on this list surprised you the most, and would you actually buy one under $10,000? Drop your answer in the comments below. If this video helped you shop smarter, subscribe now, because we're breaking down the exact SUVs and sedans dealerships desperately hope you never research next. And next time, we're exposing the depreciation trap hiding inside brand new luxury SUVs. The numbers on that one are even more shocking than what you just watched.